guys, we finally brought in a guest. I hit my limits of doing these streams by myself. The people were like, Peter, we're done listening to you talk about best ball strategy. How about we get a heavy hitter in here? So, of course, I have our reigning champ. It is Justin Herzig from Own the Moment from ETR. How are we doing, Justin?
Mr. Overzet, it's going fantastic. Great Monday morning. I'm excited to be here.
Now, I know you're still kind of relatively new to the full-on streaming game. Is this the earliest stream you've ever done?
10 a.m. Oof. Yeah. Even Australia, like we make them usually stay up late or something the other way around. Hey, if you got your coffee and I've got, I don't even have my tea. It's cool.
Yeah, to make this work, I went to bed early last night. I went to bed before the Mayweather-Logan Paul fight. I had a notification, and I know this is a brag. I had a notification from Tom Everett Scott wanting to draft with me at 10 p.m. I was fast asleep. These West Coasters, they were just getting started.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I enjoyed watching the fight and seeing, Paul pass out in the middle of a punch and then Mayweather hold him up to prevent him from being knocked out. What a horrible fight that was. The soccer match, at least, was a lot better and a fun ending.
My big sweat was, and this shows how bad of a sports bettor I am. I emptied the clip on Mayweather, when I had money on my offshore betting sites. And then when I woke up and saw it was a draw, I was like, I sure hope that this was a push and I got my money back and I didn't just lose all my money. So thankfully it was a push.
Oh, good. Yeah. Because beforehand I was looking at like different odds and stuff. And I guess I mentally talked myself into, I was like, if it's going to, it's not going to be one of the early round knockouts, like just from an exhibition. Like I thought maybe Mayweather, like in the end would be, try to go for that kind of 7-day knockout. But after seeing that graphic, the little clip of it, I'm convinced that it was built into the contract or at least pre-fight discussions that they weren't going to knock him out.
It always feels like that with the Mayweather, that there's this element of putting on a show, yada, yada. But you guys are not here to see us break down an exhibition match. I do want to ask, though, Justin, before we hop in a Best Ball Mania draft here, have you found, Pat and I were joking on ship chasing a couple months ago. We couldn't even do a fantasy football show because we had Top Shot brain. Do you find yourself having a little bit of Top Shot brain and not getting quite into the best ball streets as quickly or as hard as you would in years past?
No, I think it's a lot of task switching. And I think with my day job and everything, I understand like task switching is important. And so just got to decide what cap I'm putting on. And right now we got the draft cap on. So, we're drafting and that's all that matters. And I'd have the ETR shirt on if ETR would send me some swag. So Levitan Silva, this is a shout out. Just send me the swag and I'll wear it.
Yeah, man, you got to get those motherfucking Mackey Award t-shirts on. And how many best ball drafts are you up to now? Are you easing into it?
I'm around 15, 20 right now. I think I'm going to take a bit more of a kind of dumbbell strategy of, starting off doing a decent amount as the rankings and the ADP hasn't quite evolved. And you still have kind of people getting their feet wet. As people kind of become more experienced, the ADP gets a little more sharp over the next month or two. I'll probably slow down. And then I'm going to go hard at the, at the end of it with that August time period when a lot of the kind of, the fresh meat comes in.
Do you have any thought? I know there's a lot of conversation on when is the optimal time to draft, early or later in the season. Do you have thoughts on whether a slow draft or a fast draft is more optimal?
100% fast draft, 100%. The slow draft just allows people more time to, in Establish the Run Discord, you've got people in the middle of their slow draft asking people for advice. It allows you to kind of contemplate. It allows you to kind of think about what's best. Now, if it's your first fast draft, probably not going to go that well. But as you start doing more of them, you start increasing your comfort. Fast draft is definitely a lot more edge. Because let's consider, you're going to have people that are auto drafting that just forget about it, that just kind of their team's dud because all you need is if you're gone for 5-10 minutes, you're drafting probably 4 QBs. Then you have the people who aren't able to kind of react quickly. It's their first time. Maybe you have people who haven't even set the rankings. Overall, though, if you've got the ability to do a fast draft and once you get a couple under your belt because people are like, it's hard, I mess up. That's fine. People mess up worse.
Yeah, that's actually selfishly why I brought you on is because I've been doing these streams. I'm trying to review other people in the chat streams. I'm trying to talk with the chat and then also trying to not tip my hand with what I'm going for. And I've made some mistakes, Justin. So my hope is today with you that collectively we can manage this draft better.
I like it. I mean, overall, people know the greatest edge you can have in drafting is doing it during one of Pete's live drafts.
Yes, that is what I've heard. Chris famously said that in my Discord, Chris G here. And I was like, Is that a direct subtweet to me, Chris, that you're actively hunting to get in my drafts because you don't think I'm capable of juggling this? Well, it's a good call. So we are going to hop into a Best Ball Mania draft here. This is kind of a crapshoot as far as how many spots we need. It looks like we have some spots here. So we got 5 or 6 if you want to hop in and draft with us. But this is the problem, Justin, and I'm sure you've experienced this too when you do draft streams. I get these guys in here, and it's not your grandfather's draft. I mean, the wide receivers are going fast and furious. These are tough rooms.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that with your drafts. I've watched a few of them and agree with you. For whatever reason, your drafts definitely go wide receiver heavy. That's not my style, though. That's not my strategy. And so when I see that happening, I think in general for fantasy football, drafting wide receivers is sharp, especially for redraft. For best ball, I'm rarely ever drafting a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. And that's just based off that hyperfragile build and everything. And I'm willing to sacrifice the high-end quality to really focus on the quantity of that position and kind of nail up everywhere else.
So I'm actually excited about this draft slot here at the 1-3. I do feel like McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook are consensus, and I'm excited because I kind of want to hear you talk through this spot here because I've seen Barkley, Henry, and Kamara all go here with about similar frequency. Do you have a strong take at 1-3?
Yeah, I think an underdog Henry is the clear choice. Between 4 or 5, that'd be a more difficult conversation for me right now. But in general, I think Kamara just has too much of question marks around the QB situation. If it is Jameis, I think it's going to be fantastic. It still won't be, I don't think it'll be as good as the Breeze days, but it'll still be strong. But around the goal line, even if you have Jameis starting, Taysom is still going to play a role. And then if we do have Taysom starting, that's when I'm more concerned about Kamara. Barkley, the situation there is this injury and how much they're going to want to play him because early on in the season, there's already been some reports out there that they may take it a little soft. They may not give him the full workload. And then you still have the overall concerns around that entire offense. So in this situation, I think Henry is just the sure thing. I think the Julio move, if anything, only helps that team from an overall efficiency stance. And when we're thinking best ball and we're thinking playoffs, we're thinking December, who else to take?
Yeah, and I think when you mention the efficiency with Julio, I think the concern for me with Henry is, okay, they're not as good of a team this year. They're in more negative game scripts. We know the team hasn't committed to him in the passing game. So I take it you're taking this Julio signing, the team front running more, having more closeouts in the second half, that this only benefits Henry.
Agreed. And we know that they are playing for this year. Julio's old. They got rid of the draft picks. They see this as their championship year. And who knows, maybe that means they're willing to upgrade somewhere else, maybe on defense, maybe O-line. Who knows? But overall, just having Julio on the field also means that they can't just, put the 8 men in the box every single time and just lock, Henry down. AJ Brown, Julio, even having Ferkser in that kind of, tight end, almost slot role, I think it's a strong team. I think from a fantasy football wise, it's one of the better landing spots Julio could have ended up going. And I think from a real football wise, I think it's a fantastic spot for the Titans. I was actually hoping Jamison Crowder was going to end up there in that number 2 slot, but Julio's fantastic too if he can stay healthy. When
you draft Henry, are you starting to manually bump up the other Titans players? I think we've evolved from thinking about stacking purely from quarterback to pass catcher here. Is Henry a guy that you want to then concentrate around the Titans? Or are you perfectly okay with him being a one-off player from the Titans in this draft?
Yeah, I think overall, AJ Brown and Julio are just going at places where I'm not usually drafting wide receivers, and this doesn't increase my proclivity to kind of draft them. I'd say Tannehill. I liked drafting Tannehill anyways. He's got that rushing floor. He has a highly efficient offense. So in general, I would say the players that I'm normally considering drafting anyways, like Tannehill, maybe I give him a slight bump. But then I'm also taking a QB, then I'm not stacking with his pass catchers. So it's not like it's kind of draft changing for me.
Right. One oddity here, I have definitely not seen Nick Chubb go this early in most drafts here at 1-6. Someone planting their flag there for sure. I think this is going to be another interesting spot here. I found myself structurally really liking to get one of the elite tight ends, but it sounds like you in this spot are generally trying to prioritize a second running back. Is that true?
I'm okay with either. I just will not prioritize a wide receiver here. If I grab an elite tight end, I like that because I know I'm not grabbing another one for a long time. So let's see what we're looking at. So Waller's already gone.
And then we got so we know, so even for you, Ridley, AJ Brown. So if you're looking at running backs here, is Gibson, CEH, anyone else in the conversation for you as Kittle goes?
Yep, those two in that order. I don't know. I'm trying to see because it's hard to see. Is this ETR ranking?
They are. I did re-upload Leone's updated post draft as well, or trade.
Cool,
I mean.
Okay, cool. Oh, interesting. Okay, I haven't actually seen those. So I would just take CEH here and make it an easy choice. Now, if we were drafting right at this spot, I think it's more difficult because those wide receivers look a lot better than a DeAndre Swift, and you've already got the tight ends gone. So this is the space where I think you got to kind of grab your wide receivers. But you're also in a spot that if you have McCaffrey or Dalvin, you're hoping that, hey, I can go with the hyperfragile and still not have to draft another running back for maybe a little later on.
Right. So now we are heading back here. We look at the top of the board. It definitely seems like we are looking at a nice wide receiver one option here. That's my lean. How about you?
Let's see. I honestly would probably go DeAndre Swift and say I've got my 3 running backs, and I'm not drafting another one until probably very, very late. And here's what it comes down to for me is when I am, doing a 2v2 at the end of the day, and let's say we're talking, let's say Ronald Jones. So we're talking around ADP 100, and you're also talking someone like, I don't know, Antonio Brown and Devontae Parker. And so we can do a 2v2 and say, okay, would I rather have DeAndre Swift and Devontae Parker or Keenan Allen and Ronald Jones? Mm-hmm. And in my mind, because I know we're going to end up with 9 or 10 wide receivers, I can make up for that elite Keenan Allen production with just a wealth of quantity. But it's very hard to find the reproduction that DeAndre Swift's upside can provide you, because if he does get that Alvin Kamara type role with the new coaching staff and everything, he has the opportunity to kind of finish as a first round running back.
The chat is tilting here. They're saying that you're so high T with this running back start, low T counselor. I mean, hyper fragile strategy. That has been it's gone mainstream here. So we shouldn't be too surprised here. And I will also say I feel like I've been surprising people with my drafts. I did a draft yesterday. Someone was posting the screenshot where I started Tyreek, CEH, Mahomes. And my whole thing this year is last year I got way too confident on player selection, being way too overweight in spots. And as long as I'm not reaching and as long as I'm drafting structurally, I am mixing up all of my starts with those combinations early. And I have no problem as long as I'm making decisions following those first 3 picks that make sense in the context of the whole roster.
I think that's definitely fair. And I think you're not going to go wrong that way. I think my main thing here is I have a structure that I feel works. And so much, especially this year, my goal is just to get as many teams into the playoffs as possible because of the interesting format where the top two advance for the first kind of the main regular season, the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. You really do. It's not so much about like that DraftKings where you've got to win each individual week to get there, or win your main and then win those playoffs. I haven't actually looked at this year's structure, but what I'm trying to get at is I am focusing more on the structure of my draft rather than individual players, as you said. And stacks have just become so natural that when I get the stack, I'm going for the stack. But as Leone showed us with his data, if you combine reach, if your stack costs 2 additional rounds of value, meaning you reach maybe a round on your QB and 1 round on wide receiver, you're losing any value of that stack in general compared to just not stacking.
Right. Have you, another thing that, I've been talking with Leone and he's written about it a little bit with the zero RB stuff, and because the hyper fragile strategy, the cat's out of the bag, especially with the 2 at the top. I mean, people know you won with that strategy. It's been written about. Are you worried that the edge might be gone when a ton of people are employing it?
Yeah, so I think you just got to adjust to how you employ it. So first off, let's think back to last year or previous year's drafts. Does the first or second round look any different? Not really. The running backs still get drafted at this clip. Even the third round, we still only had 2 running backs. So nothing's really changed there. Where we're seeing things change, where people are like, oh shit, I only need to draft 4 running backs, is that next tier of the rounds 4 to 8, 4 to 9, people start kind of moving those running backs up because they're like, shit, if I'm only going to draft 4, I need to make sure the 4 that I get are really good. Okay. And now we get to a place where we see, okay, I'm only drafting 4. So all those guys in that like 45 to 55 range really fall to the end of the draft. If you take the extreme and you say you're in a draft with 11 others that are all going hyperfragile, that's 44 running backs. That means running backs 45 to 55 that in previous years would get drafted around like the 10th, 11th, 12th round. In these, we're seeing drafted in the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th round. And so the way that I've modified mine a bit is sometimes I will go, let me grab 2 running backs at the top, and then I'll grab 3 late and saying, I'm okay with taking 5 here because the value I'm getting in those late running backs makes up for my 1 loss of a wide receiver.
Gotcha. All right. So we are on the clock here. I will shut down the stream if you don't allow me to take a wide receiver here. I don't think there's anyone in the tight end conversation necessarily at this spot. Do you have a preference on the board here?
So Pitts is the only option. Pitts is an option, but I'm okay with Pitts. Otherwise, I'll go your favorite wide receiver.
Let's go Lockett here.
Okay.
I personally kind of have like Andrews and Pitts close, so I'd rather, and it seems like there's a little bit of a tier break at wide receiver here, so I'd rather grab Lockett and then see if maybe we could get one of those 2 coming back to us.
I think they're both going to be gone coming back to us, but if not, I agree we take one, and I'm the same. I probably had Mark Andrews above Pitts most of this offseason so far, but I think yesterday kind of put it over the top for me for Pitts, but yeah.
Yeah, and look, this is the classic snipe because these 101 teams love setting up their Seattle stack because it does come pretty easily there. And sorry, I will not do that. You guys make fun of us for starting with 3 running backs. We snipe your stacks.
It's okay. They're going to snipe our tight end.
That's true. I mean, yeah, this 101 slot here too, the McCaffrey, Ridley, Jefferson, man, yeah, it's hard not to like a lot of how these 101 teams look.
Yeah, and that's every year. I mean, and like I remember last year how excited we were about Christian McCaffrey teams because it came off that year before where basically he had a win rate of something in the 30-35% range where all you had to do was basically draft McCaffrey and not crap yourself the rest of the draft and you were advancing. So, yeah.
So this is one spot where, especially in a wide receiver heavy room, where I feel like we get in a gross position in that you see. So Andrews is available here. That's generally probably how I would go here. What do you think?
I agree. Andrews gives us the option to maybe end this draft with just 2 tight ends. If you don't take Andrews here, you're getting into a little rough territory.
Now, if Andrews was gone, I was going to say this is kind of a sick spot because a lot of the best available players are running backs and QBs. I mean, knowing the context of the room, and obviously you don't know that necessarily for every draft, does that maybe give you more thought of like the 2v2 on my, let's say, 3rd round wide receiver versus our 5th round running back, as opposed to the way we went, the Swift with the wide receiver here? I think I tend to like that 2v2 on the wide receiver early side.
Yep, I think that's definitely fair. But I honestly think that if I compare T. Higgins to Keenan Allen, I think their upsides are fairly similar. I think Keenan Allen just has a lot higher floor than T. Higgins. If I'm comparing Swift to the running backs that are available right now, I think Swift has the significantly higher upside. So when we're playing for upside, that's what I'm focusing on. And I see the running back and Swift having significantly higher upside than the current running backs, while the wide receivers have similar upside. And that's where I kind of lean. Now, what would have been interesting for us, and I kind of wish it would have been a really interesting draft, is if we would have grabbed Mark Andrews instead of Lockett and then grabbed Lamar there. That would have given us an interesting stack where we also have some strong at the QB tight end position. And we just know we're going very heavy with wide receiver later.
Yeah. And I think the only other thing it looks like we are now getting some quarterbacks coming off the board. I know in these, again, the context of this specific sharp draft room, the quarterbacks go a little later than they normally do. And so I guess it also comes down to what tier break you see here, because I do think there are scenarios where Russ falls to us, where Herbert's available if we want. Where is your the way I've been defining elite is not necessarily just talent level, but is it going to allow me to just go 2 at the onesie position? Where is your elite tier break for quarterback?
Fairly low, actually, because I've seen myself drafting. I mean, I'm fine with Tannehill as being a solid 2, and maybe my first guy being a Justin Herbert. Maybe my first guy being, trying to think, like, it's the ones that get a little more challenging is when you have the rookies, and you got to kind of play that game of when are they starting, and how much are you giving up there. But in general, if I can get 2 guys above the Ryan Tannehill range, I stick with 2. And I think I was looking at my drafts, and I think all but one draft I've done for Underdog, done 2 QBs.
Gotcha. Yeah. And based on kind of where we are through 5 rounds, and it does sound like with your penchant for trying to stay QBs, I'm assuming, are we looking at a 10 wide receiver build here, do you think?
Most likely. So we're definitely going to, the thing is, we're not sure what we're doing for QB or tight end yet.
Right.
Ideally, we're going to go 2 tight end, and ideally, we're going to go 2 wide receiver. And 2 QB. And if that's the case, then yeah, it's a 10 wide receiver build. And that's why I'm okay with not, going for this high draft capital for wide receiver when I know that I'm just playing the quantity game. I have not been drafting a lot of Lockett because I haven't been drafting a lot of Russ. I think the let Russ cook experiment kind of failed in the eyes of Seattle, even though it results wise feel like it worked, but they still went back to that rushing. And that's why I'm just a little concerned about what we're really going to get from that, the Russ across the season. But given we have Lockett, this is where I would probably be looking for my Russ exposure.
If that's your thesis on the Seahawks, are you pretty excited about Rashad Penny as a late round pick?
I thought you were going to go with Chris Carson. I'm not excited about Chris Carson. I definitely think Rashad Penny, if Rashad Penny was our 4th running back here, it's probably a decent target to go after. My concern with Seattle, which is the same concern with Baltimore and a couple other teams, is that there are certain teams that have shown they have no propensity, they have no desire to ever have a workhorse running back. Even when you had Chris Carson last year, they still found a way to manufacture Carlos Hyde with touches. Carlos Hyde, in his current age and his current form, should not be getting the level of touches because of his talent, but he's purely getting those because they've shown they don't want to have that workhorse 25 plus touch game. And so that's why I'm not drafting Chris Carson in the 3rd or 4th round. And I'm also, Rashad Penny goes so late. I'm okay with it, but you shouldn't be drafting Rashad Penny thinking he's ever going to turn into an RB1, RB2 if Carson goes down. But could he be an RB? Could he be like a 4th, 5th round RB? 100%.
Yeah. All right. We are on the board here. Looks like we are in a nice little pocket for wide receivers. Chark, Sutton, Boyd, Debo, Juju. Russ is also here. Any favorites?
Can you click on QB? Who are the QB tiers after Russ?
It's Hurts, and then we start to get probably a tier break there.
All right. Let's look at wide receiver real quick.
Yep. Chark, Sutton, Boyd. Quick.
Let's grab Russ.
Oh, shit. Come on, Peter. Oh, you're making me sweat here.
Good job.
We almost drafted Chase Edmonds, and that would have
been bad.
So hard.
That would have been bad. That would have been my fault because I was talking through.
Oh boy. Whew.
So I was looking real quickly. The guys at the turn, they already know that we are going with the Lockett, so they may have wanted to screw us over. I'm not sure, but also they need QBs, and there is a tier drop after Russ and Hurts. So I could have seen people want them with their elite running back, with their strong wide receivers, saying, "Hey, let me shore up that also really good QB." And wide receiver, I don't think there's that much of a difference here between Chark and Debo Juju.
I love us both pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones in different ways to the point where it's like, I now have you on a Seattle Sax. You now have me on a Swift 3 RB build, and neither of us are happy. It's a great place to be. No, I'm kidding.
Just to be clear, I didn't read the contract that I signed ahead of time, but we split the million when we win, right?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will earmark. Okay, we are on the board here. We do have some nice wide receiver options again. You got a favorite?
So in this situation, I'd go Chark above the others because I could see us grabbing Lawrence as our second QB. What are our buy situations? We have Russ in the 9. That's all I was really looking at.
Yeah. So Lawrence is a 7. If we did go with a Debo, Trey Lance is a 6. Let's
go Chark here.
Let's go Chark. Yeah, I do. Chark is a weird one to me where I mean, do you think is the ADP just dropping because of the Marvin Jones presence? I mean, he was a late 4th round pick for most of last year, and I would say he just got a big quarterback upgrade.
I think just the unknown. You just don't know the level of rapport that a new quarterback with a wide receiver that's still fairly young is going to have. We saw when we were drafting DJ Chark last year, we were doing it because he was the guy. You know, similar to what we saw with Terry McLaurin, where it was they didn't have anyone else. He was just going to get all the touches. The defense was horrible. They were going to be playing catch up nonstop. So Chark is just going to eat. This year, I don't think we know what to expect. What's Urban Meyer going to do with that defense? Is he going to be a little stronger? We know it's still very young. We know, obviously, with the running game, what's going to be happening with James Robinson and Etienne. So I think it's more of just the question mark. And Chark did underperform a bit from what we were hoping last year. So I'm sure that bakes a little into.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned with Mark Andrews that it could go either way as far as 2 tight end, 3 tight end. What kind of stuff are you looking at? Do you have a 2 tight end tier break within here?
Yeah, Logan Thomas. So love Higbee. Usually I can somewhat grab him or snag him too, but Silva kind of blew up that ADP.
Yeah, that ADP is climbing.
But when we were at the Underdog-a-Palooza, I think Josh Norris, one of his questions for me was like, "Hey, who's the guy that you were leaving each draft with?" And at the time, my answer was Higbee, and that was when I was getting him in I want to say 10th, 11th round. And now he went in the 7th. So
yeah,
woohoo, Silva.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I definitely heard Higbee enthusiasm. I don't see a lot of people getting excited about Rams kind of super stacks and stuff, but they feel like they could be this year's Bucks with just having a completely new look offense.
Yeah, I like that comparison. I personally have been thinking of them a bit of almost as the Falcons, because you have that dome aspect. You have the QB who has, it's going to throw for a lot of 300-yard games, but he's also not going to do anything on the ground. So I have that kind of, imbalance in whether I want to have him on my team. But yeah, I think there's a strong opportunity there.
One thing I like to do on this stream, because normally everyone knows exactly what we're trying to set up. They know what we're trying to do. They like to snipe us. So I do like to go out of my way to blow up some other people's spots. I just want to let everyone know here, Chris is clearly setting up a Baker pick with this Odell and Landry back-to-back. Please snipe Chris on Baker Mayfield. I see Chris's teams a lot. I often like them, and we must do what we can to make his job harder.
It's really just leveling the playing field. It's only fair.
Yeah. Let's see here. Are there anyone else's spots we can blow up here? We got my guy Harb Sniper here. He did get the Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes stack.
I think you got to look at Casey Brown. You got Casey Brown who's going for a Joe Burrow, Trey Lance combo. You got
this is so
Higgins
clear.
And the Debo Kittle.
Casey, one of my guys in the randomizer Discord, who brought a lot of great suggestions last week, and now I'm going to return the favor by blowing up his Joe Burrow and Trey Lance stack there. So sorry, guys. This it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street here.
And so for those guys, you got to always look to see okay, who are the one-off? Because Cincinnati, okay, so they've got 2 of them. I think those are the only 2 that have probably been drafted so far. But definitely on the other side with Trey Lance, we'll see who ends up getting with the Ayuk and some of the others.
For sure. Okay, so we are going to be up here in another second.
Ooh, I see a strong gun. Look who's available for us.
I know. I don't even want to say it.
James Robinson. James Robinson. That's what we're talking about, guys.
James Robinson. We get sniped on James Robinson? No, he's still down here. He's still down here. This is the pocket of the draft where I'm almost always drafting these running backs based on my builds. My issue now is I just need to mix it up. I have so much Tony Pollard. I have so much James Conner. I need to get a little variety in this pocket.
Yeah. All right. What are you going to do, Based Frank? Let's see.
Based Frank. What does Based Frank have so far? Allen, Saquon, Gibson, no tight end, Allen, Julio, Claypool, Schuster, setting up the Big Ben stack there clearly.
Is he going to auto?
Visca?
James Robinson. He took James Robinson. Oh my gosh.
I was praying for James Robinson or Visca. Tell me you're on board for that.
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if we have time for the kind of the drop-in theme music, but
that's the thing. You know what? The way StreamYard works, you know how it works. There's different themes with it, and I don't actually have the Visca video loaded in this theme. That's more in the randomizer and the ship chasing, but I would play that clip if I had it. I'm off my game right now, guys.
What's tight end look like real quick?
Yeah, let's check tight end here. Ingram, Gesicki,
Yeah, we lost out in that tier. So we're probably going to end up with 3 tight ends, and that's not a problem.
Yeah.
QB, where are we looking?
QB is Brady Rogers, Burrow, Lance.
Yeah, we got time here. So I think we're kind of at best wide receiver available now.
Yeah, I agree. Pittman goes. I was keeping my eye on him. Let's see. Luckily, let's see what he does here. I think there's a couple options here. I would say my favorite is Hardman.
Can we check tight end real quick once more?
Yeah.
It might be worth. Oh, it's ugly.
Talk it through.
Yep. Okay. So we're out of time. I don't. Let's grab your favorite wide receiver, and I'm okay with whatever you want to go with.
Hardman would be my guy here.
Sure. Let's do it.
So
let me talk through my process now.
Yeah. Why that was a tough spot.
All right, so if we go to wide receiver, you see Marvin Jones is at ADP of what? Is it 128?
Yeah.
You go to wide receiver.
123.
123. Yeah. Okay. Then what is Lawrence? Trevor Lawrence's ADP is around there as well.
Trevor Lawrence.
118.
Yep.
And if we then go to tight end, the best ones available are around that as well. We're not going to be able to get 3 picks in that range. So my thought was, is it worth reaching on one of those 3? Because to get all 3, when they're all in that same range, you kind of got to grab one early on. Mm-hmm. And so I think coming back, our goal is going to be to get Trevor Lawrence. And then if we can grab Marvin Jones and just go with that 3 Jacksonville wide receiver set, that'd be awesome. But what it ends up also doing is kind of screwing us over on tight end. But because we already decided we're going to go 3 tight end, getting one more there wouldn't have locked us into 2. I was more okay with saying, hey, let's next time hopefully get our Marvin Jones, Trevor Lawrence. If we can't get those, we'll still get a tight end that we're pretty content with, and then still throw in at the very end probably a Gerald Everett or someone that completes that stack.
Yeah. I like Gerald. I've been doing some Gerald Everett as a one-off, and especially with Russ. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry, Harb with his Mahomes, Tyreek. He really wanted Hardman there. That's the thing about these KC stacks is there's not a lot of options. Like Hardman is that only guy in like rounds 4 through 13 that if you want a Chief that you're taking.
Yeah, that's tough there. I'm trying to think right now for who was it? Kansas City, I believe, plays Cincinnati week 17. And so that's an interesting way for you to get a kind of not counterintuitive, but just kind of a hidden stack. Yeah. Because in this, we're all playing for the $1 million. You have to beat 149 or however many people are in that kind of final round. And so if you can get some form of correlation on a hidden stack, which is that game stack of Cincinnati and Kansas City, which I think can have blowout potential, that's where you can say, hey, I didn't get my, big stack or whatever, but I can kind of find the wide receiver on the opposite team. The one I've been doing it with is grabbing Kelsey early, not really wanting to grab Mahomes just because he's so expensive, but then going T. Higgins, going Jamar Chase, going Joe Burrow. And now I've got 2 wide receivers, my QB, my tight end, that if that game stack goes off, that's huge opportunity for winning the $1 million.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing for people to think about. Like you are treating those weeks, especially week 17, almost like a DFS tournament. And it's going to be very, very hard to get every single individual thing right. But if you can identify the game environment, then that's going to, lighten your load for the amount of things you need to get right. The other one too, and I think the one everyone is circled is that Dallas Arizona game week 17. So that's another kind of fun one to stack up. Although based on ADPs, it seems like the cat's out of the bag on that a little bit.
That's fair. And then I think I'm trying to go off memory, but I believe maybe it's Buffalo Atlanta is also one.
Okay. Yeah. I actually don't have all of these memorized, and I probably should at this point. Eventually. Rams. Chris mentions Rams Ravens.
I don't hate that. Is it in Baltimore or is it in LA? I think is a big determinant factor there for me. Both those teams, Buffalo, Atlanta. Yeah. That's a nice one's one. In Buffalo, which you don't love, but also I guess I'm still having nightmares of what happened with the Buffalo New England game that almost took me off my pedestal in week 16 last year.
Yeah, and I mean, in just more generally, I'm just scarred. Like, think about how many of those Cleveland Browns games last year were just fantasy nightmares because of all the win scenarios. I feel like they had 3 games with like 30+ mile per hour gusts that, we are on the clock here in a sec.
Okay, I do want to just give, our boy Chris G a big thumbs up middle finger, because he definitely took Marvin Jones just to screw us over that early pick, but that's okay.
Okay, we are on the clock here.
Lawrence is available.
Lawrence is still available. Nice. Yeah. And this is one of those, I assume, in a vacuum, where I know you're big on Tannehill, and that was even pre-Julio trade. I assume it's obviously the double stack pushing him up ahead of these other guys you like more in a vacuum.
Agreed. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've invested in the Jacksonville passing offense. We've got to take Lawrence in this situation. Waiting till the end of these 4 picks isn't worth it for us. All right, let's take that tight end look again while we're talking.
So pretty similar to what we were looking at last time. Anything jumping out? Are you still trying to see, is there a way we can get away with 2 tight ends? Is kind of what you're fishing around for?
No, I just want to get a better tight end, because again, we're going to be going 9 or 10, pretty much 9 wide receivers now.
Yeah.
So we know that's going to happen there. I think Gerald Everett is someone we're going to be targeting in that late area as well. And I think, Evan Ingram, we've had as our top tight end on the board back in the 9th round as well. So he's the clear choice here, I think.
Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, we are in a situation that if we're trying to get Gerald Everett and Gerald Everett gets sniped and we ended up this draft with only 2 tight ends, we're manageable. We're not in a horrible spot.
And I would say too, I would have probably waited a little more but on the other hand, when I look at these wide receivers available, and I assume you feel similarly, that this is a very similar large tier as far as there's no one here that's separating.
100% correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, these are coin flips on who finishes higher. And a lot of these are more based off just, making bets because what we're trying to do is make a bet that team is going to do well and that player is going to hit their top 10%, 20% range of outcomes. And the projected points here are very different than what we're looking for, where it's, I want this 5th wide receiver to have some of those spike games or whatever.
Gotcha. And so with this build here, I mean, we're done at quarterback. We're looking at 1 more running back, 5 more wide receivers, and 1 more tight end, if I did my math correctly there.
That looks right. And as I said, if we ended up with just these 2 tight ends, it's not the worst case.
You can survive. But if you say you did end up getting squeezed out and you went like Gerald Everett late, you might be trying to grab even a 3rd kind of super late tight end to go 3.
Depends on the value. And it depends on the individual draft, because we know that wide receiver, especially in yours, they get ugly quickly. And so if we're getting a place where it's just to think about, okay, which guy is going to be more important to my team over the long run? And, is it a 3rd tight end that ends up showing up as a tight end maybe a couple times and maybe hitting that flex? Or is it a 10th wide receiver because my wide receivers are pretty light? KZ Brown, I'm disappointed in your followers and your listeners here, Pete. They allowed him to get them. They allowed him to get the Burrow and the Trey Lance.
Let's see. Did he even have to reach for these based on ADP? Let's check out his here. So he got Burrow after ADP and Lance after ADP. What are you guys doing?
Disappointment.
I told you the spot to blow up.
Yeah.
And you guys just let him have it. Let him have it. Nice build going here with the Kittle. It's going to be able to go with the 2 tight ends.
His running backs scare me a little. Especially early in the season. But he's got Javonte Williams and Trey Sermon that obviously can outproduce. But I think I would have loved in this situation. So here's a great example if we did a 2v2. Let's see what his 4th running back is, or even these running backs he already has, but taking instead of Michael Thomas, Miles Sanders, and then you have that as your kind of 3 running backs and a leader. I don't know what wide receiver you can get in the same place he was getting Javonte or Trey, but yeah. So
here's a question for you. I mean, to what extent are you fully committed to kind of, your version of the hyperfragile? Will you have any 0 RB teams in your portfolio this year?
Very, very, very few. There's not a draft that I start off with where I'm not ending up with a running back in the first kind of 2 rounds. Because even so in the first round, I'm either running back Kelsey. And in the second round, if I have grabbed Kelsey, there's always a running back in that area that I like. And so it just doesn't, I think, am I getting up at the modified 0 where I'm ending up with 1 elite running back and then later on ending up with like 4 or 5? That's more likely. But I haven't done any drafts where it led. And when I'm trying to kind of balk it up in my head, it doesn't feel great leaving the draft.
Yeah, and because I think, the thing that, Sean Siegel was your RB always talks about just this idea of a lot of times with those running backs, there's a little hopium that they are going to turn into the bell cow backs. And so you're actually chasing the better versions of those backs with teams 1 through 4 or 5. And now you're sacrificing points. My guess would be your counter is that, yes, I am just trying to bank on that new ascending full down bell cow back because that's what I need to win $1 million. Is that an accurate representation?
Right. And you are going for the very, very 0.1%, maybe 1% outcome, but you don't need to do that for these tournaments. The tournament is you finish in the top 2 in your group to advance. And that's what I kind of want to get to and set myself up well for the future. Okay, what are we doing right now?
I think we're definitely wide receiver. We do have Ingram if you wanted to get 2 giants with Shepard. I always like Paris Campbell in this range.
Let's put Perryman in the queue and then take a look at tight end.
Okay.
I'm content with Perryman. I still think Perryman has the opportunity to just be an alpha on that team. Yeah.
He is one of those guys that people do not like to draft. He always slips in drafts. He's got that kind of journeyman / bust, at least aura around him. People aren't excited about Jared Goff, so they're not going out of their way to complete stacks. He was really good in multiple situations here when he's changed teams, I think. And I mean, what is his competition for deep targets in this offense?
What is his competition for targets in the offense?
Yeah, Hawkinson. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I think it's more going to be a Jared Goff kind of thing. And I don't think Goff is that bad. I think he's a system quarterback, and I think they know that. And I think they're going to game plan around it. Perriman, you're almost kind of concerned about injury to some degree, but I think he's a decent floor ceiling pick there.
We also get the bonus of already having a Lion, so we're starting to concentrate a little there. How often in this range are you breaking ties in favor of teams that you already have players on? And we are on the clock here, so we can maybe table that for a second.
Yeah. Gosh, I tell you why Hilton hasn't been on any of my teams. You mentioned Campbell. I like Campbell from an upside stance. Don't have any stack opportunities or things that I'm really looking at here. What do you think, Hilton or Campbell?
I prefer Campbell. I know there's risks to both of them with how much injury stuff that Campbell's had, but if we're shooting for those 1% outcomes, I like Paris Campbell's chances to finish strong more than Hilton's. And talk about another team whose playoff schedule I like. The Colts playoff schedule is very nice. Nice.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Dink about it, and we were just saying like, hey, from a straight up like Hilton or Campbell, I kind of expect that Hilton will probably end if I was making bets, Hilton would end the year with more fantasy points than Campbell. If you told me one was a top 24 wide receiver or even top 30, without a doubt, I'd be going Campbell. And that's what we care about here.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I always think it's also interesting too, when if you're looking at overall positional ranks or stats for the whole season versus if you do a split on the second half of the season. I mean, I feel like we see it every year with these wide receivers. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's the poster boy. He looks great the first 6 weeks of the season and then falls off a cliff. It seems like T.Y. Hilton, it could be very much on the Larry Fitz trajectory there.
Yeah, and I mean, the last 2 years when Campbell was healthy to start the year and like what we saw out of him was fantastic. And it was so sad to see, these injuries just continue to happen. But from everything I know, they're freak injuries. They're not anything that's predictive of the future. So, we got to kind of remove that bias from our minds and just think about what that potential is.
Guys, if most of you sickos watching right now at 10:45 a.m. on a morning have already signed up for Underdog, but if not, you guys got to get in there with us, get in these best ball streets. This is the Best Ball Mania. It's $25, $1,000,001 up top. Of course, you can use promo code Pete. If you're an OTM guy, you can use promo code OTM. you can get in there with us. I've been hearing lots of clamoring for the $5. I don't have any inside information other than I know they want to fill more of this large BBM before they announce a $5 tournament. I do think that will come eventually. I know the $25 can hit the bankroll hard if you're max entering or whatever. So let's keep filling this. Then we'll get the $5 up and running hopefully later this summer.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yes, win new promo. At the end of this video, I'm debuting a new short form video titled Best Ball Guy. And at the end of that video, there's a special promo on Underdog for promo code Pete Bros. So if you've used promo code Pete or you end up using promo code Pete going forward, you will be eligible for a very nice promo. I will tease it right now. It's going to result in 3 free Best Ball Mania entries. That's a $75, and you guys can get the details to that at the end of this show today. This draft is actually going slower than my usual ones. I think everyone's making a meal of it. They're sitting on the clock. They want to hear what Justin's saying, either for your insights or to use that against us.
I gotta admit, back in the day too, and not even back in the day, but a couple years back, like when I'm watching other people streaming and stuff, and I was more on the follower side, like I definitely, when it was on my pick, I would hold off for those 30 seconds because I'm like, maybe Pete's going to talk about my team. Maybe if I take a while, Pete's going to look at my team. He's going to talk about it. I hope he says I do something well. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say normally on these streams, we do some team reviews at the end. I don't think we're going to have time for that. I have something right after this, but we are enjoying picking Justin's mind today. Are there any other kind of, I know you've been writing about some of your stuff over at ETR. Are there any other kind of macro shifts or strategies, things that have been changing for you of late? Or are you kind of pretty dialed in to your process and just replicating that as much as possible?
So that is a good question that I will answer after our 2 picks, and I'll try to keep it in mind.
Yes.
But we are next.
Yes.
Running back, we have Rashad Penny available. I think that's a solid running back at the look what Base Frank just did.
Look at those back-to-back picks. Penny and Everett. You guys are sick.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so start off with Madison. Put Madison in queue. These guys, it's fine. They gave up the significantly better draft pick because that's the difference. Madison it is. Big thing here between Madison and Penny, as I said, is if the number 1 goes down, Madison legit turns into a workout horse and is an RB1 for those weeks. If Carson goes down, Penny becomes like an RB2 flex option just because they're still going to find someone else to kind of, take away some of those carries. So joke's on you, KZ Brown. Should have gone Madison.
This is like, to own the libs, you must first own yourself. To own Pete and Justin, you must first own yourself.
Well played. Okay.
So we are, we're in wide receiver territory.
Or tight end.
Yeah, you are like, I get so nervous without my wide receivers.
Look how bad they are though right now already. The wide receivers, like nothing changes. It's all rhyming and whatever blending together for now, anyways.
I definitely have drafted a decent amount of Austin Hooper. He always feels like a nice pick this late. But I definitely have some of these darts I've been throwing, but yeah, a lot of times these are darts I'm throwing in the 17th or 18th round.
Right. We'll throw those darts later. Let's grab our tight end because that's where there's going to be a bit of a drop. Hooper or Cook? I think I'd probably go Cook.
Really? Okay. So I always worry that you're going to get fired from ETR because you're not acknowledging and bowing down to the PSM model with Donald Parham.
And that XFL bias is just too strong in me. I think it was Freeman or someone who put out a tweet that said that, that ETR is just cornering the market on XFL before it comes out after bringing on Anthony Miko. You got already Levy and I are so big into XFL. But no, my thought here is I don't have strong feelings on Cook or Baker. And if you always draft Baker above Cook, you're never going to end up with Cook because that ADP is like a round and a half difference. So across a portfolio, when I'm choosing between those two and I don't have strong feelings on either, I'll take the lower ADP and accept that across the whole, I'm going to get both.
Gotcha. All right, Justin, no more QBs, no more wide receivers, no more tight ends.
Get rid of them.
We are wide receivers exclusively, no matter what you say. I know what you might do. You say, hey, just go take a look at the tight end. Maybe there's something nice over there. Nope. Wide receivers only, Justin.
I love it. That's my favorite time to be drafted at this spot. And you know what? We know. Okay. People know as well. We've got Seattle and we've got Jacksonville. So Dwayne Eskridge is really the only stack.
I was gonna tell you not to say it. I was gonna try to play it a little coy. I know.
And honestly, right, Dwayne Eskridge just went. I'm not even a big Eskridge fan. Dude weighs 150 pounds, like soaking wet. Like, get out of here.
Do you have, because this is where you have to flex, because you are comfortable in this range. You are used to grabbing bottom of the bin wide receivers, your wide receiver 9, wide receiver 10. I know that obviously you like to prioritize completing stacks and stuff, but I need to see your wide receiver whispering, because this is where I'm out of my depth. I've already loaded up normally here.
Yeah. So let's say, hey, last year it was KJ Hamler and Kendrick Bourne. And in the playoffs, KJ Hamler had the huge play that broke out with his speed, turned into a touchdown. That was big. Kendrick Bourne caught a Hail Mary, and that Hail Mary advanced me one round into the playoffs. Wouldn't have won the best ball, the best ball mania without that Kendrick Bourne. It's like, these picks do matter.
Yeah.
Now the challenge is, do I say what I think or what I want people to think? Like, I mean, this is the dangerous area, because no one else has any idea if there's not a stack, like how we're deciding between them. But I love.
Just do it. I mean, well, let's just absorb the pain. I mean, they're all same probability bets in this range. Just let it fly, Justin.
It's fair. All right. So looking through these, we can get rid of Zacchaeus. What I'm really looking for here are players that either have the opportunity to be and put in a position where their targets significantly increase, or it's a bit of an unknown, whether on a new team, whether with a rookie, new talent, that they have the opportunity to just outperform. Yeah. I'm not the kind of guy that's saying, hey, I'm looking for a guy who's just going to have a spike week here or there. I think trying to catch that is a little just kind of too funky. And instead, I want the guy that's going to have the more breakout season. Last year in this time period, I was mainly getting Chase Claypool. If I had Ben Roethlisberger, if I had Joe Burrow, I'm grabbing T. Higgins. Like, I didn't have any inclination that one of those was going to have anywhere near the year they did. But with the stack, and that's how I kind of would get my diversification. Yeah.
One guy I was eyeing there just went. Willis took Kadarius Toney. I think he's a pretty good bet in this range as far as a guy people don't like who is going to get targets right out of the gate. And with the mystery box of these wide receivers, there's a pretty big range of outcomes for him. So I'm bummed to see him go. Anyone else you're eyeing here?
I like KJ Hamler. I saw that he just went as well.
Chris took him, of course.
Of course. Okay, Jaguars play the Patriots.
I bet Jacoby Myers is available.
That's not a bad one.
No, he's not. I completely lied.
Okay. We are up right now. Was Slayton still available?
Slayton went.
Okay, let's see top of the chart. Let's see top of the chart. Let's go with Lazard.
Okay.
We're still getting the guy that has the playing time. And right now, Lazard is being drafted in his place because of the Aaron Rodgers situation. If Aaron Rodgers does play, I was on a pod last night, and I think I said, like, hey, I don't know. It could be 25, could be 75%. Like, it really doesn't matter, but it was enough for me not to draft Devontae where he's being drafted. But on the other end, it's not enough that I'm saying, hey, Lazard's just dust. Because new QB, Lazard could actually be pretty decent. With Rodgers, he's the number 2 wide receiver in that offense. Getting him in this place is not a bad thing.
I mean, he was like everyone's favorite sleeper at this point last year.
Yeah, agreed.
But I do see what you mean here. Like in these, it's hard to find, like when you're scrolling through these players, and obviously we're always looking who is this year's Chase Claypool or something in that vein. I mean, it's tough to find a name like that sticks out.
It is. I think with our 18th, we can kind of go for that bottom of the barrel and just kind of long shot it. I think here we can still find someone that's probably going to get a bit more playing time.
Yeah. All right. We are on the clock in a pick. I think we can talk it through. All right. We are on the clock here.
Okay. What do we think about Quintez Cephas? We already have the Swift. We have that Rashad Perryman. We kind of just are saying that, hey, that Detroit team ended up actually being pretty strong. And we know that there are targets available in the offense, and Cephas kind of flashed last year.
Yeah. Let's do it. I have no Cephas takes other than we already have 2 other Detroit Lions, and it makes sense to me logically.
Yep, perfect. And so now this last one. So what was I seeing? I saw Kendrick Bourne. I saw Colin Johnson.
Let's see. Oh yeah. I see. Yeah, you want to go the stack route?
That's what I'm just considering. I'm looking to see who plays Seattle.
Yeah. There's Colin Jackson.
Seahawks play the Bears.
Is there any? I mean, the only other wide receiver I can think of would be a Freddie Swaim on the Seahawks there.
Yeah. Anthony Miller get drafted?
Let's see. Anthony Miller did just get drafted, it looks like.
Okay, because they do play Seattle plays Chicago, so that wouldn't have been horrible. Other guy I've been kind of ending up around this play. So I think James Washington's a decent one. If we expect that team to continue to pass as much as they were last year, and I don't think Najee Harris completely tilts that the other way. There's a lot of opportunity there. James Washington has the profile where he can have a big breakout play, but also if either of those 3 wide receivers gets hurt, James Washington kind of plugs right in.
Yeah.
And when I'm comparing a backup wide receiver, I want a backup wide receiver that has the opportunity to play multiple positions, and it's a passing offense where, hey, in this situation, there's 3 potential guys that can get injured, and Washington subs in. If you're looking at a team that only has really 1 or 2, there's less chance of the injury. There's less chance that he's going to be able to play both like the XY slot, etc. That's where I have some positive affinity for James Washington in this position.
Gotcha.
I honestly don't know anything about Colin Johnson.
Yeah, he's pretty big, I think, right? That's all I know about him. It's always so funny when you look at the underdog player cards, because it's just from their from like last year,
Yeah.
Generally it was like, struggled in week 17. And like, I can't draft him for this year. He did struggle in week 17. Right.
When I see like Will Fuller is out, I'm like, oh no, he's out for this. No. All right, so Colin Johnson finished the year. I do remember a little flash, but that's
actually very good for us. Seattle plays Detroit, not Chicago, so that definitely sets up super well for our Seattle-Detroit exposures here.
Ooh, you're right. I was looking at week 16, so Seattle plays Chicago there. Okay, so yeah, no, Pete, we talked about that before the show. We said if we were going to go to the Seahawks stack, then we go Lions. So that's obviously what we were doing here.
It's clearly this was premeditated. There's a master plan for everything we do around here. All right, there we go. That's the shootout we need. Russ and Jared Goff trading blows for blows. Pete Carroll and Dan Campbell, I think, are both out sick that week, and the OCs step in and they're just airing it out, right?
Oh, that's you couldn't have written it up. All right, I'm going through right now depth chart for Jaguars. So it's DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, and Visca. That makes sense. Behind them, Colin Johnson really is the kind of next guy. You got Jamal Agnew, you got Philip Dorsett's not bad either.
I think Colin Johnson is going to get the. No, Marvin Jones complicates things, but I was going to say he can slide in and get some of that Chris Conley work from last year there, but Marvin Jones is going to get a lot of that too.
Yeah, you're looking for likely an injury there. I mean, he is young, so there is the possibility to break out, but who does he break out above? Marvin Jones, maybe. Definitely not DJ and Visca. But you do get the contrarian value there we like, where no one else is drafting Colin Johnson and James Washington's available. That feels a lot better.
Yep, there you go. So you want to go James Washington here?
I think so. I think yes, like getting another stack is nice and stuff, but I think it only happens if he finds his way through an injury, and we've got 2 Jaguars as well, so we don't want that kind of handcuff situation. And James Washington, I think, is going to still get his snaps in the field and has high value opportunities and has the upside if there is an actual severe injury.
All right, Justin, to wrap us up here, why don't you kind of give us your final overview of the team? Obviously, we each pushed ourselves and out of our comfort zone here. Let us know overall how you feel about this squad.
Yeah. So in general, I never want to have, we lost it. I can still talk.
No, I should be able to pull it up.
Okay. I never want to be uncomfortable with more than one position. And in this, we are not uncomfortable with more than one position. Our QBs, I feel great about, even though, I'm not a Russ fan, but the thing is, who knows if I'm wrong? Probably am. There's from a structure wise, I've got 2 QBs that rush, that can put up production, that have, potentially strong passing teams. So awesome. Running backs, absolutely love. We grabbed our 3 guys early on, 3 guys that I'm targeting in drafts. And then we got fantastic Madison value because of you jokers in the draft. Skip wide receiver and go to tight end. We got Mark Andrews, which is a solid production guy right outside that top tier. He's there. It looks like we reached on him a little with that pick, but at the end of the day, we knew we were in a kind of a funky situation there. And if you missed that, you were going to lose out. Pair him with 2 other tight ends that I think have have upside, potential, big play potential, even though Jared Cook is coming up on, I think, like 32. And wide receivers, it feels ugly, but that's okay in these drafts because we're not trying to leave the drafts with wide receivers that we think are going to, make us sleep better at night. We want the ones that say, hey, we're winning this with quantity, not quality. There's going to be maybe a breakout player or 2 in there. And we're going to kind of piecemeal our way through.
Awesome. Well, this was very fun. And I do think it's so tempting and so easy every time you do a draft to be like, this is the draft. This is my only draft. And these are my takes and I want to do it. But man, I plan to max out Best Ball Mania 2 this year. And I want to make sure that I have different structures that I'm employing here throughout. And as long as we aren't making, mistakes within those structures, I think there are lots of different ways to skin a cat here. And so, Justin, it was great picking your brain and seeing how you think through these drafts in real time.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. And I'm just glad we didn't end up with Chase Edmonds as our 4th running back.
Yeah, that would have really have put a damper on things here. So as we say goodbye to Justin, I'm going to queue up. We are about to debut here the video of Best Ball Guy. But Justin, are there any other plugs for you? Obviously, we mentioned ETR, Own the Moment for the Top Shot bros out there. Anything else you got going on?
Nah, everything's going well. Just find me on Twitter at Justin Herzig. If you do have any questions, I think people see, I love talking about this best ball stuff. Always happy to chat through, whether it's just informal coaching or whatever it is. Feel free to reach out and happy to chat.
Awesome, guys. Well, stay tuned for this video. And at the end of the video, there is an awesome new promo here. You can get 3 Best Ball Mania entries. Thanks again to Justin Herzig. I'm Peter Overzet, and here are some Best Ball guys. It's not optimal, dude.
No way. You don't have to set your lineup. That's incredible.
If you really think about it, weeks 15 through 17 are basically 3 uncorrelated tournaments. What's up, everybody? How's my Best Ball Brigade doing? Dude, this fucking dingus with no Cowboys took Dak Prescott after I nabbed CD and Amari at the turn.
Why is everyone so mad my screenshot isn't in dark mode?
I personally think with the widespread adoption of the hyperfragile strategy, Zero RB presents an opportunity to zig while others zag.
I know, I'm in my basement, but my 3-year-old has a birthday party going on upstairs.
Holy shit, dude, I'm in a draft with that guy, Justin Herzig. He's the dude from, the guy that does the EV for the Top Shot packs, yeah. Why doesn't Twitter let me tag more than 46 people when I'm trying to share a link to a private draft?
I've really had to scale back on taking Cornell Powell in the last round of drafts. I noticed my exposure on him recently eclipsed 23%, and I'd much prefer it to be in the more 21 to 22% range.
All right, guys, I say we hop in this draft, but remember, what do we say? Don't snipe, please like the video.
It's completely fine to take 8 or 9 players from the same team. It's called a super stack, bro. I just like my teams better when I know I have the entire backfield.
It's actually a myth, this concept of safety versus upside. What we're really looking for is usable weeks.
I don't know if I've mentioned it, guys, but you can get a $25 free deposit if you haven't signed up for Underdog. You use promo code FFRoto_443 #***smiley face 64.
Shit. Dude, I got drunk and I timed out on all 13 of my slow drafts. I hope Jeff Wilson recovers quick, bro.
How is it 0 RB if you drafted 5 RBs?
If you actually looked at historical win rates, you would know that teams that take their quarterback in rounds 3 and 4, take their 5th running back in round 11, and take 4 total wide receivers from the AFC North, they win at a 42% clip.
Bro, I'm telling telling you, hop in these drafts when these idiot streamers are trying to draft and talk to the chat at the same time. It's so plus EV, bro.
Oh no, I think I accidentally just took Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs. What do we call that? A no-no.
I thought about dating this summer, dude, but I'm just gonna max enter the BBM instead. I mean, what do we say, bro? What do we say? Draft picks before chicks.
Oh my goodness, did you see Gio's thighs? I think he's gonna be Tom Brady's new James White. You, a 60 IQ Neanderthal from fantasy Twitter, preferred Deshaun Jackson in best ball. Me, a Mensa level genius, preferring Tutu Atwell in best ball.
I'll show you who has the best balls, dude.
Bro, dude, Underdog's hooking it up for us promo code Pete, bros. If you've ever used promo code Pete, or you haven't deposited and you use promo code Pete, you're eligible. You can get 3 Best Ball Mania drafts for free if you complete 5 Best Ball Mania drafts over the next week. You have until June 14th.
Wait, if I'm a new depositor, I get $25 cash for using promo code Pete. Then if I do 5 Best Ball Mania drafts, I get another $75? That's 5 drafts in the next 7 days, and you get 3 drafts free. You rent seeker.
Promo code Pete. Love that dude. Sucks at best ball, but great dude.